Welcome to our special spoiler review episode with myself, Kevin, and Drew. We discuss A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original 1984 film on its 40th anniversary back in the cinema. Enjoy.
This is a warning. Serious spoilers up ahead.
So, today's spoiler review is the classic and a lot of people hail one of the greatest horror films ever from 1984. This week's its 40-year anniversary is A Nightmare on Elm Street. And it's me and Drew today, just me and Drew at the moment. We're going to have two very different perspectives on this one because this was one of the films that fucked me up when I was a child. And it stays in my memory as still one of the scariest films. And I haven't seen it for like 20 years. And I watched it in the cinema a couple of nights ago. And Drew's perspective is completely different because, well, you tell us your experience. You've not seen it.
Well, yeah.
Until...
It's funny, though. I think after watching it, after seeing Terrifier 2, it seems so tame.
Yeah, but what I mean is that you've never seen it before. You've seen it for the very first time this week. So you're not watching it as a nostalgia thing, remembering how you felt when you were younger and it affected you. You've just literally never seen it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, I wanted to see it when I was younger, but again, I think it's that thing that it felt like it was up there with The Exorcist in regards to the kind of damage it's going to do to me after viewing it.
Yeah, it had that potential and that vibe, didn't it?
Yeah, and also the idea of like not being able to sleep. Like you can see why it could F up a lot of kids if they watch it and especially the fact that he's kind of chasing kids. Like there's that kind of, it feels like Freddy Krueger is like a cross between Jimmy Savile and Edward Scissorhands in a way.
Well, yeah, the new Nightmare on Elm Street that came out like 10 years ago, the brand new remake, they'd gone a bit deeper onto why Freddy Krueger was who he was, and they said that he was a pedophile. Whereas in the original, it's just he was. So the basic premise of A Nightmare on Elm Street is that the backstory is that there was a guy who went round and children kept disappearing from the neighborhood, and they found the guy that did it, and they got him to court, and because of a technical error, he got let free. So all the parents went and round him up and attacked him and burned him in his house, which is why Freddy Krueger's all looks like burnt, like scars everywhere. And now he has come back supernaturally to haunt the dreams of the children of the parents that killed him. And if you die in your dreams, you die in real life. That's the premise, which is a terrifying idea for a film. Brilliant. Genius.
Yeah. It's also when they do the special effects, because obviously, like you're saying, like it was made back in 1984, and when she's like getting killed under the covers and she climbs up the walls and everything, that stuff was almost like, it reminded me of when characters get possessed, and they're either hovering above the bed or they're on the ceiling. Like the idea of humans being somewhere where they shouldn't be able to, like literally defying gravity. It was pretty nasty. It was weird. It reminded me, it was like elements of It, like how there's like random kind of psychological things happening. So when the main girl, I can't remember her name now, she's at the school, Nancy, and she sees her friend in the body bag, and her legs get lifted off, and she gets kind of pulled away by like an invisible force. That kind of stuff reminds me a little bit of It, especially the new It, where he has the ability to kind of transform into different things. And the kids at the school library, and he starts seeing like little Easter eggs, and then he sees a burnt child, and then he sees the head of the burnt child. It's like the idea that it taps into children's navightmares, and Freddy Krueger literally turns their sleeping patterns into nightmares where they have to kind of, navigate their way out.
The original It came out in 1990, so 6 years later. So it would have taken some inspiration from it, because this was quite... I think a lot of people won't understand that this was groundbreaking, But I'm intrigued. I mean, obviously, we know this. Everyone knows the facts. If you don't, if James was here, he would say it's Johnny Depp's first film.
Yeah,
Which we all know.
it actually says, introducing Johnny Depp, and you're like, wow, that's quite.
Yeah, and it had John Saxon in it, which is Nancy's dad, the police officer. He's the guy from what was it? Oh fuck, what was it? The martial art film. Enter the Dragon. He was in Enter the Dragon.
Is it me, or does he look like Brando? Like, he looks of that kind of ilk. Like, he's very charismatic and kind of.
Yeah, he's got such a good look. I expected to see him in more films. When I checked him out on IMDb, he's been in a lot of crap films, but he was in Beverly Hills Cop 3. He was in From Dusk Till Dawn. But I don't think there was any major characters. Obviously, he was in like Nightmare on Elm Street sequels as well. But he's not been in amazing films, bizarrely. Or well, maybe not in my opinion. Maybe in some people's opinion, he has been. But the films he's been in have been pretty terrible. And the few things he's been in that's good, like From Dusk Till Dawn, you wouldn't remember him from it. He's in it for like seconds, you know.
Yeah, is he like a sheriff or something, like a bit part, and then
FBI agent? So basically, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's probably the bit where George Clooney and Tarantino are trying to cross the borders, and that's when it's normal before they get to the titty twist.
Yeah,
probably.
So my opinions have changed drastically. I'm very keen. I think it's really interesting. I think for people listening, I think it's so interesting to get perspectives like this, like someone who grew up with it and someone who's never seen it, and they're seeing it in the harsh daylight of 2024. You must have hated it. It must have been rubbish. What did you think?
Well, I thought that there was moments where the plot is like it's very slow in places, which is really strange. But obviously, we're used to like thrillers that are like, every 3 seconds the camera's kind of changing angle, or something's happening, or they're being tested. The thing that tested me was Nancy's mum.
Yes.
Her acting. It felt like every time. The scenes, it's like she's auditioning for the part, like really badly. It's like, sweetheart, you've got the role. Just be a normal person. And then it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a funny one. It seems it seems really inappropriate now after a lot of the conversations we've talked about in Rage Whale about the way things were filmed in a certain generation. When that young girl, who I think she's supposed to be 15 or 14 or something, Nancy.
I don't know. They all like drive and stuff like that. So they must be like 17-ish, I think.
But it feels so wrong when she's in the bath and she's got her legs apart and his hand comes out, like just the inappropriate nature of what's going on.
Yeah, that's true. But that is one of the most iconic visuals of horror films. That bit where Freddy's glove with knives comes up between the legs of the bubbles in the bathtub and just about to get her. And then the mum knocks on the door and it disappears again.
Yeah.
And then she gets dragged underwater.
Well, my point is that it's the same could be she's there with the foam and then his hand comes up behind her. It's I think the reason it's iconic is because it feels so bold.
I mean, I see what you're saying from today's sentiment, but there's no way that could have been better. That was the best thing to do. I think I would have greenlit that myself. I know it seems inappropriate, but you don't see anything. In fact, you see
of course. Yeah, of course. I think it's just because of the kind of character she is and the kind of innocence. It just it feels very.
Yeah, it's only sexual-ish because of the way she is. It's not sexual because of the glove. The glove just appears in that place. It's not doing.
No, I'm not saying gloves are sexual. I know. That's not what people do in the bedroom with gloves. No, but I mean, it's the fact that how she is, like she's this kind of innocent, protagonist, and then she's just in the way that she's positioned in the bath, and then he's like, "Hey," it's kind of like.
But like you're saying about the mum, I was watching it in the cinema, and my head was in my hand a lot of the time, and it was. The mother was the worst because this is, by the way, this is not like a normal horror film even back in 84. This was a low budget in 1984. This wasn't like Halloween and stuff probably wasn't big budget, but it was low budget compared to Halloween and stuff. It was low. And you can tell that. But when you see the mum act, she's meant to be drunk all the time, and she's not drunk at any point except she's just carrying around a bottle of alcohol under script. And I mean, that bit in the hallway and the landing when she leans against the thing and takes a drink of, like, that's so unrealistic and just so rubbish.
Well, it's almost like you can see where the director's saying, "Okay, and action." Like it takes you out of it because it doesn't feel like she's doing anything from the point of view of like, realism. Sadly, it's kind of like she's just hitting the marks and doing things almost like she could look off and be like, "Is that okay? Like, am I drinking it okay?" Yeah.
And I don't care how unrealistic the film is or the situation. I can get behind the story and stuff and believe all that, but the bit where Nancy screams, talks to her dad at this point.
Oh yeah,
he's across the road at a murder scene of her boyfriend who got killed by a serial killer within half an hour of him arriving, and she's in the house opposite saying, "Dad, I know where he is. Come knock the door down in 20 minutes." And he's like fobbing her off. I don't care who you are. I'm going to be there for my daughter who's 10 meters away. Be there. And she's screaming and bashing and smashing the windows to get him. And the other cop's just like, maybe I should get her father.
Yeah, it feels like
get on with it.
It feels like an episode of Thunderbirds, but also it's
like a soap.
Yeah, it's like if anything strange or untoward happens in the house, I'm like, she's smashing the glass, and you even see Freddy come up through the glass, which is his POV of the detective, and he's like, maybe I should contact someone. Yeah, she just broke the glass of the house, like what? Some scary guy with like knives for hands. Like, yeah.
But it is, when you break it down, it is like, I think I'd even say I'd be insulting them to say it's GCSE drama class, because it is like you say, it's like, Q, do the thing, stop, Q, do the thing. And it's just, it's not smooth. And I hate myself for saying it. And Michael will kill me for it because it's like one of his favorite horrors. And for me, in my brain, it's one of the best horrors, and I've ruined it by seeing it this weekend. I wish I'd never seen it again. And in my head, it was just this cool ass. Loads of people, like Jordan Peele, last week did his top. I don't know why it was top 6, but top 6 horror films.
Yeah,
he picked a random, a thingy film. He then put Get Out, his own film, as number 5.
Of course he did.
I'm guessing he was asked to do a top 5 and he had to slot himself in, so he did a top 6. He had Exorcist, The Thing in there. They should be in there. And number 1 was Nightmare on Elm Street. And I was like, I'd say it's in my top 5. And then I went to see it. It's not even in my top 50 anymore.
Oof. Yeah, it's interesting how things age, though, isn't it? Because the funny thing is, like, you talk about The Thing. The Thing is aged brilliantly, but the acting is phenomenal in The Thing. It feels real. It feels really scary. Even the dog in The Thing outacts the mum in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. It's because the story and the editing are smooth and it makes sense. So even the shitty effects are not shitty, but they're not. Compared to today, they are. But you can still suspend disbelief and go, I'm along for the ride. I get this.
Yeah.
So that doesn't take you out of the film. If it was bad acting and bad CGI and bad effects, then it's got no hope. The Thing was 1982, 2 years before Nightmare on Elm Street, and it still holds up better, in my opinion.
Yeah. Wait, The Thing was
82. Wow. 2 years earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean
I do have to say though, I would have loved to watch like the making of it, like how they got the girl when she gets slashed through the chest and then goes up the wall onto the thing.
Well, it's just a turning box, isn't it?
Oh, no, it's just turning the camera.
Turning boxes, isn't they? So it'll be 2 separate shots. So the room will be turning upside down, and their cameras will be staying still and turning upside down as well.
Okay.
Or turning with it. Like how they did the Christopher Nolan running scene. Where things,
yeah. In the hallway. Yeah.
In the budget version of that, basically.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I would challenge you to go and see, not go and see, but download or whatever, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. I don't think you need to see number 2.
Okay.
But number 3, from my memory, is the most fun. Because number 1 was meant to be scary, and when I was younger it was. That scene where you said about the body bag in the hallway, in the school hall, That was the bit that gave me nightmares. That scene alone, just the
Yeah.
body bag, its legs lifting up and then getting
Yeah.
dragged.
Yeah.
It just creeped me out for
Yeah.
years. But number 3, because again, Freddy's meant to be terrifying, and I know he's a bit tongue in cheek, isn't he? He's a bit like goofy or silly, even though he's murdering people. But number 3, it goes full on silly in a good way. They embrace the silliness.
Yeah.
It's called Dream Warriors.
Is that
And
with
they
her
set up,
son?
sorry?
Is that the one with Nancy's son? And then Freddy Krueger's after her son?
No. It's still Nancy. Still is
Oh,
Nancy
okay.
in it again? I think so. Yeah, no, it's still a normal one. Yeah, Nancy's back. I think she's in a mental hospital, if I remember right.
Oh,
And
shit.
Freddy Krueger
Yeah.
comes for her, and all the children or all the teenagers in the mental hospital as well. But it embraces the dream scenario. Like they make up their own dreams. So when Freddy attacks her, it's in a house. When Freddy attacks him, it's in a whatever. They make up their own dream scenario. Like in this one, it was basically Home Alone, wasn't it? She ended up going Home Alone.
That bit didn't make any sense for me when she just all of a sudden she's like, I'm going to get shotgun pellets and empty them out and put them into a light bulb and get like a wire. And you're like, who are you? Who are you? And where's that stuff should have been started to get planned in like the second act. It should have happened.
She planned it with Johnny Depp on the bridge. That's the book she was holding. We know when Johnny Depp had the burger and she was on that bridge over the lake.
Yeah, but obviously, it's not. That wasn't clearly enough for me because I was just like, who is she? How's she becoming like a Sherlock Holmes meets Home Alone?
I don't remember that scene ever. It was when I watched it the other day. I was like, oh, is that where she got it from?
Like, oh God!
But how weird was it? They're having that conversation. They're having a proper conversation. She goes, "All right then, bye," and then runs off. And Johnny Depp's left with a burger on a bridge.
But that bit reminded me of is it The Room? Where it's like, oh hey man, oh, there were some moments that are like The Room in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, it's just a conversation. It's like a conversation. She goes, "Okay, bye," walks off.
Yeah, but then also for me, the bit where they've set Freddy Krueger on fire again. Then he runs upstairs and he realizes he's after the mum. Then he's doing that weird thing. To the mum. Then they come up and they witness it, but they're looking at it like, oh, it's just like a rabbit's been hit by a car. They're like, oh. It's like, no, there's someone on fire. They've just set your mum on fire. She's become a demon. The bed is then opened up into another world. They've fallen through, and then it's looking at each other like, yeah, it's just a Wednesday. You're like, what? The acting is terrible from the reaction of that. And like, even the script, I think it's kind of like something like, I can't believe it, or something like, well, yeah, like what?
And how bad is it when it's like a skeleton that Kate would have, like the sort of plastic skeleton where it's like hand goes up, like as it descending into the bed.
Regina or whatever it was. What's the name?
Yeah, it's Regina. It's not Colin because it's Regina.
Then even worse than that, when that weird ambiguous ending with the car closes down and it's got like Freddy Krueger's jumper, and then they're like, help us, and the mum's like, have a lovely day. And then she gets pulled through, but then you can see how bad that it jump cuts. And it's a doll. It's like a weird doll mannequin with a different color shoes, different skin tone. And what is the mum's makeup?
Did you notice as well? Again, it might have been for a second watch you noticed this, but when he got put on fire, obviously they can't just put a man on fire. They've got to put him in a bodysuit that can take fire and flames because they set him on fire for real. But you see how all of a sudden Freddy Krueger went from a skinny guy to quite a chubby guy, and his head went to a fat head because they had to put layers of masks to burn him. Which makes sense, but still, it's just so bad. They haven't even tried to. They could have masked it by filming from certain angles, but no, they just filmed them straight on, no effort. There we go. But then again, it's low budget.
I feel like that's when I love films when they make better choices. So, for example, like you just said, right, we've got a different guy. It's going to look clearly different. The continuity is absolutely fucked if we film it like this. I've got a great idea as an artistic thing. Let's crack a few of the windows, and we film it like sideways along the house, so you just see his silhouette on fire running through, and you go, "That's intense." But it's just an interesting choice to do directing-wise, rather than going, "We'll just film them as they are." with the
Yeah,
with
I
the
don't think there was anything artistic
yeah,
camera-wise, was there?
yeah,
But that's the sort of thing you notice when you start watching a load of films. Like even when you go back, like I said before, like you watch The Crow, and I was concerned that my favorite film, because I've watched like we've talked about a million times before, I've watched it so many times, but then I had a break for like 10 years, and I was hesitant to watch it again because I didn't want to ruin it. And
yeah,
then I did, and I was like, shit, this is still good. Yes, you can see minor flaws,
yeah,
and
yeah,
there
yeah.
are minor flaws. No film is perfect, but minor flaws from my memory. I mean, but
Mm.
still fantastic. But they make an effort by doing aerial shots, by doing angled shots, by doing artistic shots where you just see silhouettes or you see half a face, or it's not just filmed. It's
Yeah.
quick shots, quick edits. There's pans, there's zooms. Whereas Nightmare on Elm Street is just fixed camera, occasionally tilts.
Do you know what I was
It's
going to say? For me, A Nightmare
so
on Elm Street is like a 90-minute coffee ad. Like, it's like the fact that the girl is always making coffee. I was like, it would actually make a really clever, if someone wanted to do a really clever Nescafe advert, they should just do it of the kids that can't sleep. They're like, Mommy, it's like, can I bring the coffee pot upstairs? Freddy's around, and it's kind of like, because it's like everything is coffee, coffee, coffee.
yeah. What
Yeah.
was your favorite kill scene? Because Johnny Depp's is the most famous with the blood spewing up, but I
Yeah.
think the first one's really good as well.
Again, for me, man, it's like, it reminds me of It. Like either Stephen King was massively inspired by the people that wrote Freddy Krueger,
Yeah,
because I don't know if you remember it.
This is Wes Craven. Wes Craven's a master at
Oh,
horror.
well, yeah, Wes Craven's a genius, man. But that shot in It when she gets her hair trapped in the sink and then she's pulling up the plug and all the blood like goes
Oh
and
yeah,
completely does her room, and that reminds me of that moment in obviously Krueger where it's like, but it
I
also
think they
didn't.
invented it because I've never seen it before that.
But it also doesn't feel realistic though, because like someone's not going to explode into like projectile blood through a thing. It's like there was like 40 fans underneath the bed that's blowing like blood up the thing. It's like it's a cool image, but if you think about it like logistically, it's yeah, you're like, how have you made a blood fountain? But then
Ex-
also, if like you said, he's just gone into that crime scene and there's blood dripping through from the ceiling into the living room. He's like, we got a serious one here, boss. And it's like, and then his daughter's saying, I think I know the guy. You'd kind of prioritize that. Like that crime scene is good. Like it doesn't need him there. So when his daughter's screaming, he could be like, right, I don't need to pawn this off to anyone else. I'm going to run in there and look after my daughter.
well, exactly. Like loads. There's so many holes in the story, and it annoys me that I don't like it. Um, we should wrap this one up. This little
Yeah.
spoiler review, but I've got a couple of little facts for you before we go. Just looking at the trivia on this,
Oh yeah.
New Line Cinema, the production company, was saved from bankruptcy by the success of this film, and it
Wow.
was jokingly nicknamed the house that Freddy built.
Wow.
Also, Heather Langenkamp, who is Nancy, beat over 200 actresses in the role for Nancy, and she beat Jennifer Grey, Demi Moore, Courtney Cox, Tracy Gold, and Claudia Wells. I don't know all them, but
Wow.
and the film cost roughly 1.8 million to produce, of which 60,000 was reserved for the ambitious special effects, and it made the entire budget back in its opening weekend.
Wow.
So it
I
is a
think
success story.
Craven is a genius, and I think the concept is, you will never forget the concept. It is genius. It's kind of like, it reminded me of Seven in the sense that I was like, he came up with something that is so cool. Like you'll never see Dreams and Nightmares in the same way.
I mean, it's totally unique. I
I
mean,
feel like it could get redone. I feel
it's
like,
been well, they did redo it. I didn't think it was that great, but I might revisit it now and see if it is better than I
yeah,
remember. Actually,
but I feel like, oh, I feel like if it was done with a good director, like Like, you know, like Villeneuve, the guy that does Dune.
Yeah.
I think if he did, you know, the Freddy Krueger kind of films, I reckon people would tap into that and be like, yeah, let's see what he's got to say. And play on that psychological kind of dream state. I think that would be cool.
Well, before we go, James, do you have we're just about to finish this little chat. It's only been 20 minutes on Nightmare on Elm Street. Do you have an opinion before we shoot off?
Do you have an opinion on my new hat I got for you?
Yeah, I just saw that.
We're having an American on in a minute, so remove it just in case it does offend them.
Oh yeah,
don't insult the dice.
Don't insult
have you got an opinion on American A Nightmare on Elm Street? You've got 1 minute tops. Go.
No, do you know what annoying? I started watching it the other night, and if I didn't know it was Johnny Depp in now, I really wouldn't recognise him as Johnny Depp. He looks so different, doesn't he? I know he's younger, but he looks like totally different, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's changed a lot.
Oh yeah,
yeah. No, I remember one scene where Freddy's that's like quite funny to watch now, where Freddy's running down an alley with really long arms. He's like, whoop! And I couldn't help but just laugh at that.
Yeah.
But no, I will properly sit down and rewatch it because it is a classic, and I haven't watched it for probably like, God knows, over 10 years, maybe even longer than that.
We're basically saying Drew's never seen it before till this weekend, but it's ruined for me. It's too cheesy. It just didn't work for me. It was too bad.
What, the 80s one?
Yeah, the original.
Yeah, but when in the 80s, it was shocking because it was new.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I'm going to end this one. Where is it? Actually, I can just cut it. I'll just have to cut it.
This has been Rage Whale. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you had a whale of a time.